Hey guys, welcome to the Levels of Wrestling. Tonight we're talking a bit about the fallout from Battleground's pay-per-view this year, and we're going to discuss a little bit about Raw tonight and what we think we could see happening. We're going to try as much as we can to avoid spoilers and any kind of obvious rumors other than the ones that everyone already knows, such as who Plan C might be. But first, I just want to get a bit of feedback from everyone. What was everyone's thoughts on Battleground last night? Chris, what did you think to it? Do you think it was a fairly positive pay-per-view? Did you think it was fairly average or even less than average?
I feel like it had the potential to be a good pay-per-view, but it didn't necessarily live up to that. We started off with perhaps what was the best match of the night, and after that it just seemed to, some of it seemed to drag, some of it seemed to carry on a bit too long. I'd give it about a 5 out of 10, 5 maybe a 6.
5 out of 10. Cool. Rentus, let's jump to you, man, because you always seem to have some good comments to do with these pay-per-views, and your rating system always works quite well as well. So how did you find Battleground?
I'm sincerely touched. Um, Battleground is an interesting pay-per-view. I didn't get the full flavor of it because I missed the two pre-show matches, but I did go back and rewatch the parts that I'd missed from the show proper. It was a forgettable pay-per-view for me. I was not only underwhelmed, but I was deeply bored. You know, I hate to put it so bluntly. I don't think it was an awful pay-per-view, but I mean, C minus. I may be grading a little bit harshly this time, but that was not what I expect from a pay-per-view. It was an episode of Raw, basically. So no, not for me.
You know, I think that's a good point. The episode of Raw is definitely a key one, especially with the awful set we had. Paul, what do you think to it? Did you stay up and watch the full show, or did you get bored and fall asleep?
Oh no, I absolutely watched the entire show. It was a middle of the road show, which I thought had sneaky good potential. When you looked at it, you knew that Usos and Wyatt, you knew they were going to tear the house down, which they did. You figured that Ambrose and Rollins, they were going to tear the house down. Well, we got a bait and switch there. Which, I understand, what they were doing, and I understand, but you know what? Don't promise us this big match that people are going to pay money for and then take it away from us. You do that on a Raw, and we're all going to be a buzz. We're going to think, oh my God, that was a great episode of Raw. You play it out over 3 hours, and Ambrose is the Stone Cold. But to do that on a pay show just rubbed me the wrong way. I was fine with the Russo Swagger match. I thought that was good. Everybody looked strong there. But yeah, it was just an average show, which that peaked right there after the opening contest. It was a 5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. We're going to touch a bit on that Ambrose and Rollins situation later. Skeletor, what's your thoughts?
I liked it okay. Like, it wasn't like a great pay-per-view. It was okay. Just what I thought it was gonna be. It was fine. I really liked, bringing Wyatt's Usos was 2 out of 3 falls was great. Like, really great. And it kind of got my hopes a little too high for the rest of the show. Rusev Swagger was good. Like, it was hard hitting, and it got each guy their heat, and it worked. Like, that was a very functional, played out exactly how it needed to match. The main event was fine. Like, it was. I don't like the whole saying it was like an episode of Raw thing, because I've heard somebody say that about every single pay-per-view besides WrestleMania since 2003. I hate that, so I'm not gonna say it, but it was kind of underwhelming in places, and it was fine. Like, C plus, C. Yeah, I liked it. That's about it.
Cool, I think we're all fairly set that this was a fairly average pay-per-view. Dylan, if you're there, are you able to talk to us, or are you You're away at the moment. I'm safe to say Dylan's away, so I'll give you my thoughts on this pay-per-view. I thought this was, it had huge potential. The card looked great on paper, and there were so many chances they could add some good spots and really build this pay-per-view towards SummerSlam. I kind of feel like the whole pay-per-view, I don't want to say it was like a Raw, like Skeletor said, but I can't think of a better way to put it. I mean, this show really flunked, so to say. The finishes, so to say, were a little bit predictable. Maybe not in the way that they happened, but it was far too obvious at times who was going to win. Let's talk a bit about the Ambrose and Rollins situation. Paul, you were obviously fairly pissed about this because people paid to see this match, like you said. So what bothered you most about it? Was it the fact that people paid to see it? Or was it the fact that after the build, it just didn't happen? Paul. Hello, Paul. Paul is gone. Great. Rancis, your thoughts then?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Quickly to the mark.
Yes, I'm here. Rollins and Ambrose?
Yeah,
why
did that bother you so much?
Because it was BS bait and switch tactics. You know, this was a match that people would pay to see. It's not like it's some kind of garbage undercard match. You know, this is, you know, when you thought about this show right after the main event, you know, you thought about this match. And you know, to have them take it away from us, I just thought was just completely terrible. You could have won about it such an easier way. You just have Rollins. You give him a different match, and then you just still go ahead with the attack, and everyone's going to be happier. But yeah, it's just something that you don't do on a pay show for me.
Yeah, I would agree. It's one of those situations they were in that kind of left them high and dry, because that was one of the matches that everyone assumed would steal the show. Rancis, what do you think on that? Because obviously this was one of those matches, like I said, people assumed would steal the show, but never happened. Do you feel that's maybe one of the reasons that this show wasn't quite as big as it should have been?
You know, I'm more impressed with the Usos than I've been in the past, and I've gone from saying what's the point for them, which was not very popular at the time, to now thinking that they're a good passable tag team. They're somewhat entertaining. So I knew that match with the Wyatts, because I'm a Wyatt mark, would be a good match, and it was. But the match of the night, the match that I was looking forward to seeing, was how they were going to progress Ambrose and Rollins. Those are the two matches that I thought would be interesting matches. Everything else was, I mean, so the first one led off the show, which, as mentioned before, that set up expectations for a great show, which they couldn't deliver on. And then they take the other show-stealing match off of the card. So, I don't know. I don't want to be too down on it. It's not like it was a garbage pay-per-view, but I was not feeling it.
Yeah, you know what? I think the whole thing with Ambrose and Rollins was such a good opportunity to progress it, like people are saying. There was such a good chance that they could have developed past this kind of block point they're at. So, Skeletor, what did you think about them not having the Ambrose and Rollins match, so to say, but just having a segment?
I was kind of scumbaggy defensive about it on Twitter. Yeah, I can understand why someone would be upset. I do fully understand that. I was not upset because I always had in my mind there was about a 50% chance that it was going to go DQ in like the first 2 minutes and then go like, just they'd scrap for a minute and then something would happen and then they'd brawl outside, count out DQ, whatever. I always thought there was like a pretty large chance of that, and this was pretty much just that. Like, it's that exact, like they brawled for like 5 minutes. And, it wasn't like technically a match, but it advanced the story, and I liked what I saw, I guess. it wasn't perfect, but I liked that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because I haven't seen the forfeit win thing since like 2006. Like Kurt Angle got one of those a long ass time ago, and
Yeah.
like I always liked that as a story point, which they never bring up. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
I
think
thought it was okay.
I think the forfeit heel thing is a great way to get some heel heat back onto Rollins. I love this idea that they had Ambrose carted off. Like, he looked, honestly, the way they tried to put him across is the lunatic fringe. He looked like a lunatic. It was amazing the way that the four of them carried him off with a limb each, so to say. But personally, I was a little pissed they cut this match. So, Chris, what was your thoughts on this?
Oh, I've been saying since they announced this match that it was going to be match of the pay-per-view. It was going to be the match of the night. I really did expect that, and I was very, very disappointed by the fact that they cancelled it. And I was actually very, very pissed off. That was the main reason I brought the pay-per-view, because I was like, the one thing that I can look forward to on this pay-per-view, in terms of not winning money, is Ambrose and Rollins, who are guaranteed to put on a good match. The fact that that didn't happen was, and the fact that they came out and this scumbag changed at the last second, and they were like, "Oh, it's not going to happen now." I was like, "Well, that's kind of one of the biggest dick moves that I've seen pulled by the company in a long time." It was in a sense, "Oh, come on, watch this match." Well, no, not going to happen. And I was like, "Well." Other than that, there was.
Okay, so obviously we can't take everyone's opinions on this because, there's so many of us tonight. But let me give you, this question, guys, just with a yes or no answer. Do you think WWE did this in the hopes that we would be more pushed towards buying SummerSlam to actually see the match happen? Chris, yes or no?
No.
No. Cool. Francis, do you think they did this to make us buy SummerSlam to make sure we see this match?
If they did, that's not a very good. That's not a very good plan. I think most people who are gonna get the pay-per-view are gonna get the pay-per-view. If you're buying Battleground, then you're in the audience that's going to buy SummerSlam. There's nobody that's buying Battleground that's skipping SummerSlam. You see what I'm saying? So if that was the plan, that's a pretty stupid plan, in my opinion. But who am I?
I completely agree. I love how you absolutely nailed the yes or no section of that question. Skeletor, yes or no, SummerSlam, did they do this on purpose?
No.
No,
Yeah.
1-up. You almost beat Rensis there. Paul, yes or no, did they do this to try and hype the match for SummerSlam?
No. You don't need to hype this match.
Good answer, straight away. Mike, thanks for joining us. Yes or no, was Rollins and Ambrose cancelled so that we can't wait to see Ambrose get his hands on Rollins at SummerSlam? Nope. Good. So we're all in agreement. This wasn't WWE's way of trying to hype a match. I heard this on Twitter so much this morning when I woke up. People saying, trying to defend WWE, saying this was on purpose, this was a big thing. It's not. It was just a screwy way of not doing the match.
It was just to give Rollins heel
I don't want to
heat.
say developed character, because I don't see any development. But if they were going to do it, like Paul said, there were so many better ways to go around it. One of the other big matches, well, actually, yeah, Chris has just suggested that maybe it was a timing thing. I'm going to say it wasn't a timing thing. The final match was almost 40 minutes long. For four guys, I kind of got bored of the Fatal 4-Way. So let's hit on that. What did everyone think of the Fatal 4-Way? Rory, if you're there, if Rory the Shadow is finally here, what did you think of the Fatal 4-Way match?
I thought it was really good. There were some bits that were a bit, predictable, repetitive. I know, I'm here. Isn't that madness? Like the whole finisher, breakout, then another finisher, breakout. But apart from that, I thought it was really good. Really solid.
Okay, so what would you give it out of 10 just for that one match?
7.5.
7.5. Okay. Paul, what's your thoughts? What did you make of the Fatal 4-Way match?
I was okay with the match. I mean, we had everything leaked beforehand that there was a possibility that there was going to be a title change and a possibility that Brock could be there, which lifted intrigue for it. I thought the match was well enough in what it was. I mean, I have no problem with Cena keeping the belt. And Roman looked strong as usual, but they need to do something. They need to get him away from title feuds right now. Put him with Triple H feuds. Don't ruin them. That's my main hope is that they're not going to ruin them. But yeah, I mean, he looked good, and Cena took probably the best chokeslam of his life last night. So, but yeah, overall pretty good match. I was okay with it.
Yeah, I think obviously, as you said, Cena took a hell of a good choke slam. I was quite impressed with the height he got on that. Like, obviously, part of it is he has to jump. He got the biggest
he was
height
jumping.
Yeah, he got the huge jump. I thought Orton was going to be the one to do it, but never mind. Skeletor, what's your thoughts? Fatal 4-Way, was it a flop or was it a hit?
Mostly a hit. I liked a lot of it. I liked that everybody got their own points to look really good. Like everyone had their I dominate this match for 5 minutes, and then have a clear pinfall win on a guy until other guy wakes up from the last time he got his ass kicked and breaks it up. And
sounds like a perfect Roman Reigns match.
Yeah, they used him. Yeah, having 2 minutes of action. I mean, having 5 minutes of action for each guy makes Roman Reigns look great because he has 5 minutes worth of moves. So, yeah, I liked it. Probably 7.5 as well.
I will say I did like the spot where Roman went round the ring, one after the other, kicking everyone in the face. I love seeing that move. Dylan, if you're there, what did you think of the Fatal 4-Way match? I don't know if we can hear you yet.
Can you guys hear me?
Dylan, you around?
Hello?
Sorry, man. I'm going to move on. Rensis, what were your thoughts?
I can actually hear him fine, so if you want to let him go for a couple seconds, I can. If no one can hear him, I'll repeat what he says.
Yeah, I'll let you go for it. Dylan, what's your thoughts on it?
Alright, well, I thought it was a pretty solid match. I think Roman Reigns definitely was the all-star of that match, but I might have been the only one who noticed.
Okay,
He says that he thought that Roman Reigns was the star of the match and was pretty much the only one creating excitement in the match.
Cool. Okay, so what were your thoughts on it, Rancis?
I agree that he's got 5 minutes worth of stuff. That's where he is right now as a performer. And so if you can keep him to short spurts, he'd be a great tag team guy right now, and he's great in this kind of a format where there's 3 other main event career superstar guys in the match with him. He's gonna look fine. Put him alone with someone who is not particularly a good worker, and I am afraid that it's going to be pretty ugly. So, yeah, for what was there, yeah. I mean, they protect him extremely well, and as long as he doesn't have to go too long, he's going to look fantastic. So, but I didn't love the match. I'm not big into Cena having the belts again. I understand why they're doing it, but so going in, Cena's going to keep it. And there's not going to be a cash-in because you still got to get Lesnar versus Cena. So I wasn't. And the action was actually okay. I would prefer that Kane not be in it and either put somebody else in it or just have it be a 3-way. But I thought it was okay. I'll give it. I guess I have to give it a grade, so we'll say 6 out of 10.
See, that's interesting. You said you don't think Kane should have had it. Personally, in my mind, if anyone was going to win the belts, I would have put them on Kane, although a lot of people wouldn't have said this is interesting. If Daniel Bryan is due back within the next 3 to 4 months, because it is a possibility, that would have led to that feud, obviously. We could have got Reigns versus Orton at SummerSlam. and then on to Triple H and Night of Champions, and that would have led to Cena and Lesnar fighting anyway at SummerSlam, because they don't need the titles to make that match sell. So anyway, Chris, what was your thoughts on the Fatal 4-Way match?
Fatal 4-Way, because there's 8 of us, I'll keep it short. Fatal 4-Way, not a bad match, even though I didn't like the finish. I thought Cena winning was a bit stupid. They should have given the belts to Orton. Orton could have feuded with Reigns, which could have led into Reigns and Triple H or something else. Could have let Orton do something. You've then also got Cena, Lesnar, which sets things up on a triple level, rather than setting things up on one level. You've now got one championship and one thing, and it becomes a bit of a mess this way. But yeah, a good match. I agree. Reigns has about 5 minutes worth of moves. I think he needs to work on his moveset a little bit. Hopefully, when in the rest of his singles run, we can see development from him. And I definitely agree. Love the flying kicks from Reigns around the ring. Brilliant.
Great spot. Mike, do you want to give us your thoughts on this, just very quickly? What was your thoughts on the Fatal 4-Way match?
I don't really have anything that interesting. It was like typical Fatal 4-Way. I'm pissed off that John Cena won. But however, I did like the little spot where they have like Kane be like Randy Orton's bodyguard thingy, and then when Kane was covering, I think, Roman Reigns, or was it Orton covering Roman Reigns? I can't remember. But Kane or Orton broke it up, and then Orton got all in Kane's face, and he said, then it's supposed to be you watching my back," and then they just started going after each other. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, do you know, it was really clever booking, actually. I really enjoyed that. Do you know what? Let's talk about the match. I know Mike's fairly excited about this, so we'll run through this one as well. Swagger versus Rusev. Does anyone have any complaints about this match, really? Obviously, it ended in a way that had no distinct winner. So, let's start with Paul. What did you think to Rusev versus Swagger?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought that it was booked fine. Rusev still looked strong. He showed a little more ass than he has before. Swagger looked like a hoss. And the count out victory was definitely the way to go, I think. And then you can continue this to SummerSlam easily. So yeah, I was a big fan of it.
I really enjoyed the match personally. I felt it was such a big opportunity for both guys. Swagger looked surprisingly strong in this match. Although the finish, a lot of people complaining about finishes, is really bad. I enjoyed the finish. I thought it was a good way of making both guys look reasonably strong, and there wasn't a clear winner, so to say. No one got pinned, and no one had to tap out. So I think this leaves a good door to SummerSlam. Chris, thoughts on Rusev Swagger?
I didn't mind the finish per se, I just really didn't like the match. I loved Lana's promo beforehand. I know that's caused a lot of controversy and everyone's complaining about that. I thought it was a fantastic promo for heel heat. It was also very realistic and very honest. But the actual match itself felt rather slow paced to me. I wasn't a big fan of it. It was all, ankle locks from Swagger's part. It was ankle lock, ankle lock, ankle lock, ankle lock. I was like, come on.
Yeah, I think maybe that was their way of trying to show, the big man physique kind of thing, but I understand why that would bother you. Francis, what's your thoughts? Francis, you there?
Yeah, I had to unmute. My thoughts on Swagger versus Rusev. I have to agree. I thought it was a slow-paced match, but I think you get that with two big guys working. I don't think you need to do it in a match with these two particular big. This is the same thing that happened with Big E. Sometimes WWE gets too locked into putting guys into a style, and both Swagger and Rusev move exceptionally well for bigs. I think what's made people like Undertaker special over the years is he's a big guy, but he moves like a smaller guy. And they need to let both of those guys go. To just do pretty much kicks and punches whole match long, was unnecessary. You got guys who can go. You got big guys who can actually go, and they're both good workers. So a little bit of a wasted opportunity. I did think that doing the count out allowed both of them to look fairly strong. But I think they left something on the table, and maybe they did that on purpose because they're continuing the feud.
Yeah, I personally think that they are going to carry this to SummerSlam. And Skeletor came up with a great idea earlier for that, in my opinion. So Skeletor, do you maybe want to share that idea with all of us, and then give us your thoughts on the match?
All right. I wanted them to bring back the Russian chain match so that you could have Jack Swagger chain match.
Is this going to involve a Koloff?
No, but Rusev is close enough.
Or a Volkov?
Yeah, he hails from Russia, so it'll do.
He's a Bulgarian who lives in Russia. You know, close enough. But I have this image in my head of like Lana refusing the rematch like repeatedly because of how close that match was. And until like Zeb and Jack Swagger goad her into it, and then she decides that, okay, I accept the match, but it has to be under the rules of my country. Russian chain match. So we just have bosses beating the hell out of each other while connected from wrist to wrist with a chain, which they hit each other with, and so on. Because it's a weird type of gimmick match that you don't really see anymore, and I'm a fan of it. And it's real old school, and this is a real old school feud. I think it works well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it'd be great to see the idea that, like you said, Rusev can't back out of the ring like he was doing quite a lot of last night.
Yeah.
I think that gives such a good opportunity as well for Swagger maybe to utilize the chain in a way that he would need to take Rusev down using it.
And it still puts Swagger in the underdog position despite his size, because it's you bill it as something Rusev is used to, while it's something Swagger has never seen before.
And just quickly, what did you think of the match?
I liked it. Like, I think it wasn't great. But it did exactly what it needed to do, which is it needed to make both guys look strong, A, and B, it needed to be solid enough that you'll enjoy it, but not so good that they've used up everything that they're going to use later. So I think it just was exactly what it needed to be, and nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great match, personally. Good spots, good chance to build upon it. Mike, let's talk to you, because this was the match that you specifically wanted to talk about. What was your thoughts on this?
I thought it was okay. I mean, it could have been a hell of a lot better, but that can be said practically for any wrestling match. That it could be better, but I don't want to drag on here. Personally, I enjoyed the pre-match mini brawl that Swagger and Rusev had, just to show how much these two hate each other. And for the count-out finish, I thought that was actually quite good, because, like the other guys said, it made both of them look strong, and didn't make Rusev look like a bitch, but it didn't make Jack Swagger look like a bitch either. So I thought that was a fairly smart idea. Although, one thing that really bugs me about this rivalry is that they never play the Soviet anthem, like, for example, when Rusev wins a match or something like that. I really do not understand that, and I would actually really like to know the answer to that, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's one of the good questions. I'm also questioning where Rusev goes after this feud. It's something we spoke about the other day before Battleground. Ideally, if you could do it, Mike, where would you have Rusev feud after this?
I wasn't really asking where would Rusev go after this. I was merely asking how come they never used the Soviet anthem or even mentioned the Soviet Union throughout Lana's promos. I just never understood that.
Well, it's not
I think obviously a lot of it's politicking and hoping for the best. I mean, as we've seen, they already got quite a bit of stick about the incident with the MH17. So maybe it's to do with that. And the Soviet Union no longer exists. So
yeah, but they can. But Lana could use that to remind remind the Americans like, hey, we used to be this big union that we used to be in this Cold War, like flashback kind of bleh thingy.
Yeah, I think obviously it'd be a good little history lesson. Quickly, what were your thoughts on this match?
I just thought it was to keep it going towards SummerSlam, really.
Yeah, that's
Make them both
exactly the
look
case I felt.
pretty good and just carry it on.
Just carry it on. Cool. We'll tell you what, guys, we've got to take a quick break from Battleground talk. Charlie Groves on Twitter asks, who are the biggest assholes in wrestling? Skeletor, you seem like the nice guy that would understand assholes in this group. So who would you say are the biggest assholes in wrestling if you could pick 3 guys?
He is not here.
Skeletor? You there?
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Okay. Rensis,
Yes.
who would you say are the biggest assholes in wrestling?
Ooh. Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, John Cena. That's probably a good start. They're trying to make Seth Rollins that, but I still see the middle child not really wanting to offend too much coming out. I think the ideal guy to play that is probably Dean Ambrose, but they've got him better cast than I thought he would be as a face right now. So, but we'll get to see that eventually.
Yeah, I think they're rolled up quite well with Ambrose at the minute being a babyface, and the crowd seem to like him. So, Paul, let's go with biggest assholes in wrestling.
I got to go with Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, and from what I hear, Scott Steiner.
Oh wow, really good choices. I think
I'm not going for kayfabe asshole. I'm going real life ones. So
real life assholes. I think obviously Bischoff's a good choice there.
Okay.
That's-
was nasty.
that's all I know is super old stuff, though.
Wait, what now? What are we talking about?
I'm the old guy here. I
Alright,
gotta go
Skeletor,
with the
we'll
old
talk to you in a
stuff.
second. Yeah, no, I agree with the choice of Bischoff and Rusev. I think they're really good choices. Steiner is clearly just, I don't want to say he's a steroid head, but he really is. Chris, you asked whether it was going to be real life or kayfabe. You can go with either, it wasn't specified. So who would you say?
Kayfabe, obviously, it's going to be at the moment Stephanie McMahon and people like that. In terms of real life, there's always 2 sides to a story. I've heard Sheamus is a pain in the arse to deal with. I've heard that John Cena can be a pain in the arse to deal with. I've sure as hell heard that Hulk Hogan could be an absolute asshole most of the time.
I'm pretty sure 90%
So,
of rich people
that's
on
always one of
TV
them.
are assholes.
Phil Brooks, CM Punk.
Yeah, because I suppose a lot of people have said he is a real life asshole. So
I met him and he seemed like the kind of guy. Asshole might be the wrong word, but a lot of people would say that he is purely because he has he seems to have a no bullshit kind of attitude where he'll cut to the point and he'll say it as it is. I mean, when I met him, he was walking around and he said something along the lines of, I went up and just said, "Are you CM Punk?" I wanted to say thanks for putting on a show. He just said, "If you want an autograph, come to the things like everybody else." I was like, okay, be a dick. See ya.
yeah, I think that's a good choice.
Yeah, but the rest of us treat you that way too. So
now. Who are the biggest assholes in wrestling, in your opinion? You get 3 choices. Skeletor, are you there?
Oh, I couldn't hear you there.
That's okay.
Where are my 3 choices?
Yeah, the 3 choices. You there?
You just continually cut out for me immediately when you just say whatever my options are, like Chris does all the time.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there are any
what are your
options.
choices then?
Okay, I'm just gonna say biggest asshole in wrestling is probably CM Punk. because I've never, even his friends call him an asshole, like Daniel Bryan. So he's just kind of an unlikable dude, and he has I really liked this picture I saw on Twitter, which was a image of him. Of a quote he said, like, I just wanted to change professional wrestling, and I can't do that from my couch, and then just showed him now, just laying there. Because, yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, Punk, you talked a big game, and then you bailed. Thanks. But, I get it. Like, I'm not mad about it. It's what he did. He said he was going to change wrestling. He didn't, and he left. So, he just seems like the biggest douchebag, like, available. And I guess JBL, I've heard bad things about him being a scumbag backstage. But those are the guys probably. But JBL is a cool heel, so I appreciate him more.
Cool. You know, I'm surprised that no one has said the big one yet. In kayfabe would be Vince McMahon. He was an asshole for years. Rory, 3 biggest assholes in wrestling. Go.
I was going to say Vince McMahon.
Ah.
And The Miz, his character, just because it annoys me. I don't know why. Always has done. And Batista in real life, apparently. Pretty annoying. I'll call him an arsehole.
Hopefully Batista doesn't show that when he's going through the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Mike, you got a top 3 assholes?
Muhammad Hassan, kayfabe.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, real life. And also kayfabe, but sorry, had to.
Del Rio, good choice. Do you know what? I think these are all great choices for assholes. I say that, and it wasn't meant to sound as bad as that. But I think a lot of the time there are some real assholes in wrestling. Obviously, we don't know the full story behind things. I think all of us at least said one person different there. So it kind of shows personal opinion on being an asshole as well. But going back to Battleground, let's talk a bit about the tag match, because, we all seem to enjoy that match. Rantis, what did you enjoy about it? Do you think it's worth them continuing the feud, or do you think they should just stop it there?
There's somebody clicking in the background. Dropped a couple questions in the Hangouts box if you want to take a look at those. Also, the tag teams. I am really tired of seeing the Usos versus the Wyatts. The thing about it is they don't really have a lot of options. Even their lower level tag teams have either been dismantled because they've been fired or they've had guys go down with injury. So it's not a good time for the tag teams right now. And that goes into one of the questions that's in the inbox. And that is it time to bring up the Ascension? I don't know if you want to get into that just yet.
Yeah, do you know what? Let's go for it. Let's talk about that at the same time. I mean, they're a tag team. They're coming up at some point, so why not?
So I would say no. The problem with saying no is it keeps the titles on the Usos. And if you do that, it's kind of tough. I know that they've been the NXT Tag Team Champions, but if you bring the Ascension up and put them immediately into a title feud, I think that has the effect of devaluing the title a little bit. So you almost have to have another Wyatts versus Usos match just to get the belts off of them. Put it on the put it on the Wyatts. Let them run roughshod over everybody for a few months, and let the Usos, because the Usos are good workers, and so you kind of need that with the Ascension. I'm not sure if they're really ready to put on long quality matches without some enhancement help. So
yeah, I think we've all said at some point they're kind of, I don't want to say the word green, but they are kind of green in the ring still, even for being in their twilight years. So hopefully, if they do bring them up, I don't really want them shot straight into the title picture personally, but it would be fresh to see someone new in there.
Yep.
Sorry, on you go. You gonna say something else? Or?
Oh no, not me. I was just here reading the questions.
Cool. Chris, what were your thoughts on the tag match, just quickly?
Thoughts on the tag match? Not a bad match. Didn't like the fact that the first two falls happened so quickly. Like they happened within the first 5, maybe 8 minutes. Wasn't a fan of that. Otherwise, good match, good finish. Like the double splash, although almost botched. So they took a risk, it paid off.
Yeah, I was gonna say the splash at the end was a bit iffy to watch. It looked a bit sloppy, but I'm okay with that.
Yep. In terms of the Ascension, whether the Ascension's going to come up or not, I think it'd be nice to see them come up, even if it's only to challenge for #1 contendership or something. You know, for now at least. Because I feel like we're at a point where there's like 4 tag teams in the company, 2 of which are the major ones, which are the Usos, Wyatt. Then you've got Ryback and Goldust, Stardust who just fight back and forth, and you know those are the only 4 tag teams we've really got. I want a 5th.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to see a new tag team, but again, it all depends on how ready they are. So, Paul, what did you make of the tag match?
Loved it. Absolute match of the night. Yeah, the first 2 falls, they came pretty quickly, but that third fall was just some of the best stuff you're ever going to see. You know, just the repeated near falls. You know, just their facial expressions of, you know, what do we have to do to put these guys away? It was perfect. Yeah, I loved everything about the match, but now this has to build to something else at SummerSlam. So how do we get to that? How do the Wyatts get another shot? I figure that they put their beards up for a title shot. Which, you know, is just one of the few things that make sense. You know, why would the Usos give them another shot? You know, they're 0-6 against them or whatever, you know, in title matches. So, you know, but as far as the Ascension goes, yeah, they're as green as baby shit, but, you know, just out of necessity, they're going to have to eventually come up. Don't want to see them, you know, get thrown right into a title feud. You put them against Goldust and Stardust for a bit. They can drag a good match out of those guys. Or the Usos, like Renza said, you know, that's a good idea too. So, you know, there's a couple. There's 2 teams out there right now that they could work with and look serviceable against.
Sounds really good to me. Do you know what you said? There's a chance of you know, how do you continue the feud? I think obviously the only way to do it is make it personal, and that'd be for Wyatt to do some kind of promo about, you know, history and the Usos. I would love to see.
Go beat up Rikishi.
Yeah, I would love to see a cage match between the 2 of them and see the Usos do the Superfly Splash from the top of the cage. It's such a historic moment. I mean, the whole Samoan Dynasty thing, if they want to play it up, that's the best way to do it. Skeletor, what's your thoughts? Did you enjoy the tag match, and do you feel it was match of the night?
Tag match was definitely match of the night. It was one of the better matches of this year. I mean, I was insanely into that match, especially the third fall. And I really, really liked 2 out of 3 of the falls. I really liked the final one, obviously. I also liked the roll-up, even though it was kind of a weird, like, ugly-looking roll-up. I didn't like that Luke Harper got the first pin off, like, a big boot, which is not even a finishing move. He just pinned Uso, like, 6 minutes in off, like, a regular move. Odd. But besides that, it was fantastic. I loved Luke Harper and Eric Rowan's no-selling. I liked, because they would no-sell in the perfect moments. Like when one of the Usos, Luke Harper tried to discus clothesline him, and he super kicked him mid-discus clothesline, which span him around into a new discus clothesline, which was just a beautiful spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna fall, do it with style and hit the other guy. Why not?
Yeah, it looked incredible. I liked the final splash. It was rough looking. Not everything has to look like it's been practiced 800 times.
Yeah, it was kind of rough looking, but it kind of made it look more effective because of it.
It looked like the guy who took it died, which was great.
Yeah, it looked dangerous. That's the key thing.
Yeah, it looked incredible. I loved the match, and I could honestly just watch these guys wrestle again and again and again with a new stipulation. I'm not worried about the next match because this match last two were so good. If they do a steel cage at SummerSlam or whatever, it's gonna be great. It'll probably be even better than this one. I do at some point want to see Rybaxel with Larry the Axe Hennig against the Usos and Rikishi, just at some point.
Just for them to pop.
Oh, what?
Guys, obviously, because there's so many of us, so we're just going to move on a bit. Mike, I want to hear what you thought about the Divas match between AJ and Paige. Was it worth it, and do you think it lived up to the hype that people were wanting?
Well, what the fuck do you want me to say? Honestly, it's a Divas match. Of course it's bound to be shit.
Straight to the point. Okay, well, what did you find was wrong with it, then?
Well, just merely the fact that AJ Lee was the fucking champion heading into the matchup, and the story they're trying to go with doesn't make much sense. And I was like, what the fuck? Throughout the entire
really
match.
dropped the PG rating.
Like, I didn't get it.
Fair enough. Let's go with Rory, then. What did you think of the match? And
I actually thought it was pretty good for once. I think what they're trying to do is make them seem like friends, and then Paige have a heel turn so she can bring back that whole anti-diva thing. But it was better than what I thought it was going to be. Put it that way.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the whole anti-diva thing would be good. I would love to see at some point down the line that they bring back the women's title specifically because Paige says she's not a diva. I think that would be very interesting to see. I can't say it's going to happen, but we can hope. Chris, what's your thoughts on this? Did you think it was a good Divas match?
I think it had potential to be a good match. It was cut a little bit. They weren't really allowed to do enough in the ring. They weren't allowed to use enough of a moveset. I mean, we saw the typical kind of Divas moves, and I remember at one point when Paige went to tackle AJ out of the ring, and they kind of ended up stopping and then rolling out of the ring, and I was like, come on. You could have at least gone with that. You could have at least speared her out of the ring. That would have looked absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I think there were some spots that could have been much better, but again, it was one of the better Diva matches we've had in a long time.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking forward to their match at Summerslam. I think that if we have the creative, or not even the creative, if we have the people backstage turn around to them, I'm not sure what department it'd be, and just say, go nuts, do what you want to do, follow health and safety, but put on a good match. I'm very interested to see what they could do, because it was, even with what they did, it was entertaining. And if they added more to it, it would be very entertaining.
Yeah, I would love to see WWE take a note out of TNA's book, give them some kind of gimmick stipulation, give me a last Diva standing match, because these two could actually put it on. Okay, so a few of you guys, have been sending questions. So let's just answer another one, and then I want to move on to our new segment that we're having specifically for tonight after a nice conversation we had today, didn't we, boys? So we are going to spot this one out. And the first question we're going to look at is from @InRogers29. How are they going to start Lesnar versus Cena without Cena actually being on Raw tonight due to filming Trainwreck? Skeletor, let's go with you first.
See, that's a really weird thing to have to start. I think they're probably going to. What?
You cut out. I didn't say
Okay. Okay. What I was saying was, I think that. I think that Lesnar will probably interrupt a significant match and just waste some people to waste. Just like how he beat all members of 3MB in like 30 seconds and just brutalized him for the next 2-3 minutes. Do that, but with some like higher up people. He has come for his WWE World Heavyweight title match. Like, he has broken the streak. He's, retired retired Triple H or whatever, pretty much. He injured and put him out for a while. He's done it like basically
The
anything.
Rock and Rumble tactics.
Yeah, he's basically done anything he can do, but that's not winning the belt. So it's now his time to get the championship. And Paul Heyman is the one who explains that because Brock doesn't speak. But yeah, you just do that, because they don't want to have him just beat up John again. That's exactly what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, I would agree. Rentis, let's hear your thoughts on this, and then we'll jump to Chris, because apparently Chris has it all figured out. So, Rentis, what's your thoughts on how to start this match? Thank you.
I don't have a good answer for it. I thought that the Skeletor's answer was fine. Don't have a problem with that. Have him come in and destroy somebody. Hopefully it'll be somebody that's serious. I always liked it when you're going to have a destroyer come in and do something like that. He doesn't care about faces and heels. So maybe he can come in during a Del Rio versus who's a upper mid card guy that's a face right now. No, higher than that.
Oh, higher than that, Sheamus.
So yeah, Sheamus versus Del Rio. Lesnar comes in and destroys both of them. He's gonna have to take out Sheamus first, obviously, because he's the face. So destroy Sheamus, then Del Rio's still standing there thinking he's off the hook because he's a heel like Lesnar is. Oh no! And then he destroys Del Rio too. That would work for me.
Yeah, I think that sounds good as well. Obviously, taking out better and bigger guys each time he comes back makes him look more of a legitimate threat. So, Chris, what way have you got this figured out, my friend?
I have two things figured out, one of which is the way that WWE is likely to do it, one of which is the way they probably should do it. The way they're probably going to do it is have Triple H announce that Brock Lesnar's the new #1 contender and have him walk out and, I don't know, possibly attack Reigns. The way that they should do it is have Reigns, Kane and Orton arguing in the ring, have Lesnar's music hit and Lesnar annihilates all three of them, or possibly Orton runs away like a coward, which makes him look like a cowardly heel. And then you can kind of have him stare the crap out of, you can have Lesnar stare the crap out of Orton. And I basically think it should be a matter of Lesnar comes down, dominates all three people, and you have a typical Heyman promo of Heyman saying, my client Brock Lesnar defeated the Undertaker's undefeated streak, and now he's defeated all three #1 contenders.
I would love to see, obviously, some interaction between Kane and Lesnar. Just because the whole Taker situation, I think that'd be great to have.
Yeah, like I said, I think it'd be great if you went for Reigns, and then if you had Reigns, Kane, and Orton slid out of the ring to protect himself or whatever, or run away, and then you had Kane and Reigns left in the ring to be attacked by Lesnar. And then and then of course you have Heyman do one of his massive "My client Brock Lesnar" kind of promos, and it's all good then. The way I realistically see it happening is simply he's the new #1 contender. He's going to appear and possibly attack one person with an F5 once, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's a good situation to have, actually. Rory, let's ask you quickly, because you're saying Heyman will have a large part in this.
I think it'll all come back to when he said to Triple H about Plan C. Because obviously his Plan B, Seth Rollins, had to leave. So I think he'll bring up the Plan C thing again today, probably a few times throughout the night, and then he'll come back. That's how I think it'll go out anyway.
Yeah, that's a good situation. I mean, although Cena's not billed to be on Raw, they could do the obvious thing, swerve it, and have him show up, but I highly doubt it. If I take Cena out at the beginning of Raw, Cena would then go off, kayfabe in an ambulance, and then go off and film whatever film he's doing. That then sets up the promo for next week. They don't need to do anything big, but it starts Raw off in a big way. Lesnar can then have moments throughout the night as well. So he could come out, destroy people, make it clear that he's there. it's just one situation though that could happen. Okay. So like I said, guys, there was a bit of a conversation today between two of our panelists about which titles are relevant and which titles, which titles are actually needed on the main roster, or defended and looking like proper titles, so to say. So both Chris and Rensis were discussing whether the NXT title is deemed as a serious title. So I'm going to give both guys the chance to throw their story out there. Literally, guys, you've got a minute each to defend your case, and then I'm going to let the other panelists decide who they think is right. So, Rensis, let's go with you first, because you were for the idea that the NXT title is a real title.
First, I wanted to mention that I thought Cena got a pretty good pop at the end of that match last night. He did not get the sort of really mixed reaction. He got pretty much cheers at the end of that match, if unless it was just me.
I thought he got quite a big pop as well, actually. Like the whole night.
I completely agree.
As far as the titles go, I wasn't making the point at all that I thought that the NXT is a major title. What I was saying is that there's enough title. I keep hearing these people saying we need to get so-and-so involved in the X title picture, or we need to bring back more titles, or when someone says let's unify the IC and the US, like for instance, I'd made that point, others have made that point. Let's unify the IC in the US and retire the US, very much like they've already done with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and retiring the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that that's the best thing for everyone involved. It allows you to have a bigger and more meaningful main event picture with multiple contenders going for the World Heavyweight Championship. It allows you to have a big and vibrant with multiple people going after the IC title. You don't have 125 people on the roster. You don't have 7 main shows, a new show every night. 2 titles is more than enough. I'm not sure that they have enough talent to really do well the WWE title, the IC title, and the 2 tag titles along with the Divas titles. I'm not sure they have enough talent to do that at an elite level. And especially when you have the 3 development titles, the NXT title, NXT tag title, NXT women's title, to if you want to continue to develop somebody and put a belt on them and have them be the star and not have to show them on Raw because you're still developing them. And I just think that there's already enough with those titles. I think having the US along with the IC is completely redundant. You don't have enough good mid-card people to properly create a hierarchy of how people are going to attack that title and getting enough people to want that title. So
basically what you're saying is get rid of the US title, retire it.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. I think that you have a major title, and then you have a scene of people who want it. You have a mid-card title, and you have a scene of people who want it. You have tag titles, and you have a scene for that. Right now, there is no... even when they had the 2 world titles, it was the same thing. You didn't have a proper sort of main event picture for each of them. They don't have enough talent to do it. Same thing with now with the IC in the US. You'll see a more vibrant mid-card if you only have 1 title.
Yeah, I agree. I personally agree. I think it gives more chance for storylines as well, mid-card storylines like they used to have. Chris, you were obviously on the opposite opinion of this.
This wasn't the conversation we actually had. The conversation we had was whether or not the NXT title is considered a main title.
I'll tell you what, I will unmute you both and we'll go back and forth for a minute because this is interesting.
You misunderstood the point that I was making.
Oh, I get the point that you're making, but the NXT title is not a main title.
That's not the point I was making during the conversation.
That's the point I was making in the conversation, is you were counting the NXT title, and I'm like, mate, that's not a real title. That's a development title, that don't mean anything.
That's what I'm saying. You misunderstood the point that I was making.
No, I get what you mean about the whole building, being able to build a hierarchy within the mid card, and by having one title for the mid card, yes, that works better. But you then have pay-per-views like Night of Champions, which kind of become a little bit irrelevant, unless, and this is a point I want to discuss tonight, you have something like the NXT title start to be defended and brought up as a main title and brought to the pay-per-views or even the pre-shows for the pay-per-views.
I could actually see that. That could be valuable if you do the NXT Championship as part of the pre-show.
Yes,
It makes the pre-show really feel important. That's a good kickoff. I don't think that's a bad suggestion at all. You can do the same thing with the tag title or the NXT Women's title. In fact, if you don't want to do NXT this time, you could do the Divas title as the pre-show. It just gives it a little bit more gravitas.
Yeah, I completely agree with that part. So no, that was all I was discussing. I agree with the whole hierarchy and storyline purpose, but like I said, things like Night of Champions then lose a bit of draw to them, and at the moment, the only decent storyline that I've seen recently is the Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins one. The rest of the storylines have bored the hell out of me. And
for Night of Champions, you can still do the world title.
Yep.
You can still do the IC title.
Yep.
You can still do the tag title. You can still do the Divas title, and you can, if you want to put up the briefcase, you can put up the briefcase.
And the NXT title.
Then you have 5 titles on the line during the main show, and if you want to do the pre-show as the NXT title, there's your Night of Champions right there. I think that's a pretty good card.
To be honest, Night of Champions, I'd even add the NXT title to the main card.
I don't think I'd want it on the main card just to keep the feel differently. It's completely separate, and make sure that when you do it, it's 2 NXT people, not an NXT person versus a WWE person.
Okay, guys, so let me ask you this then. I'll ask some of the others. Skeletor, do you think that the NXT title should be defended on WWE main roster pay-per-views?
I am not a huge fan of that concept, because there's a lot of not ready for primetime players who hold titles. Like, the Ascension are not ready to be exposed in like a long title match on a main team. Like, the whole reason for the developmental is that you don't see these guys until they're ready, and then when you see them, it's a big deal, and they're here to fight for titles and be important. It's they should not be on main programming at any time. No matter how, even if they're ready. These guys, someone needs to just come out of nowhere on the main roster, or have vignettes or something. Just having them pop up and then go away for 9 months, and then, they're on the main roster now, is such a weird thing to do to a guy. And they're still figuring out gimmicks. People jump to a new gimmick when they go to the main roster, a bunch. Or, at least a somewhat different gimmick. Friggin', Reigns was a totally different person pretty much in NXT. He didn't dress like that, he didn't barely act like that until he came to the main roster. It just seems like a very bad idea to me.
Okay, so you're against the idea of the NXT title being...
I don't think I could be more against it.
So, Rory, for or against the NXT title being on WWE pay-per-views?
I think it should be kept completely separate. Mainly because, as you said just then, it's a developmental thing, and I don't think the audience would get into it very well, because the NXT audience is the same every week, and they know them better than anyone else does, and I don't think a random audience somewhere would just get into it very much.
There's bits that I'm agreeing with and bits that I'm not agreeing with, but I'll sum that up at the end. Mike, are you for or against the NXT title being on pay-per-views?
Am I?
Nope.
Alright, Rensis,
Cool.
do you still hear me?
Paul,
Yes, I can.
for or against the title being on pay-per-views?
I'm okay with it.
Now because they're kind of overlapping.
Okay. Can everyone hear me then?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm for it. You know, you do it on as a pre-show thing. You really build it up on NXT. It's not something that I would have. You know, you don't do it every month, but you know, once every 6 months, something like that. You know, make it a big deal. You know, I don't have a problem with it. You know, these guys need to learn how to perform in front of a bigger crowd. So, yeah, I have no problem with it. You know, have it on the pre-show. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that's a very good point. Every 6 months sounds perfect to me. I would put it on SummerSlam, and I would put it on WrestleMania's pre-shows. That way, NXT gets exposure, and they're getting a little bit of good time to put the NXT guys on the bigger stage, like you said.
Alright, Levels or anybody else?
So, Rents, just clear it up again. You for or against it?
I can see both sides of it. I really can. The problem that I kind of have with the strongest argument against is that it hinges on the concept that NXT is developmental, and I respect that. And there is still an element of that. There are some people who don't appear on the network as a part of the show because they're still in quote-unquote developmental. But I think we really need to stop that idea. We really need to get away from the idea that NXT is developmental. That's really not the case anymore. I'm sorry, it's going to sound a little bit off maybe to some, but that's just not the case. When you have Triple H on the first show saying that this is the new brand, he didn't say it was a developmental brand, and you put it opposite of your biggest competitor on TV, I'm sorry, that's not developmental. They're trying to sell this as a money-making brand. This is not school. So I get that there's a need for some separation, and I might even buy don't put it on TV ever, but they've already done that. You've already had Ric Flair, Bret Hart, you've got a bunch of WWE guys down there that are performing now, and you're putting it opposite NXT for a reason. So I just no longer buy the concept that this is just a developmental product. I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm on the agreement with that because right now the development is the performance center. Whether people like it or not, NXT is a new show. It's not developmental. You wouldn't showcase your developmental section on a television show. Like these guys are going to like the likes of football and hockey and things. This is like your second division, whereas your right, they are no less in the way good wrestlers because as we've seen, they can put on fantastic matches. But NXT shouldn't be viewed as developmental. Chris, clear it up one last time. Are you for or against the NXT title being on shows?
I'm definitely for it. I'm going to say not on the main show, on pre-show. You know, once every 3 months, possibly. So, you know, you've got Mania, SummerSlam, possibly TLC, because I'd love to see some of the guys have, you know, get in NXT. You don't really see ladder matches or table matches. I think it'd be good to give them that experience. So I think, you know, give them 3 or 4 times a year on a pre-show. And obviously you don't put up guys that aren't ready. You know, you put up guys like Sami Zayn and Tyler Breeze that have already put on good matches.
So maybe put it on the big 4.
Yeah, possibly.
Cool. Okay, so, you know, just after that, and now that we've discussed it a bit, I want to clear up a question from one of our Twitter followers. It was a bit of a story he sent me, basically covering. He was in a supermarket today, and he saw a 16-year-old boy walking around with a WWE title, and he thought this was a little bit tacky to be doing. So John Tibbs asked, "What is the tackiest piece of WWE merchandise?" Skeletor, in your opinion, what is the tackiest piece of merchandise?
I have never been a fan of walking around with belts. Like I've never owned one. I'm not like I just always thought it looked weird to have like a miniature fake belt. Like why would you own that? It's not like in support of anyone. It's just like I have a fake championship. Never made any sense to me. So I guess that's probably the tackiest thing.
That's cool. Paul, what's your thoughts? What's the tackiest piece of merchandise you can own?
The tackiest piece of merchandise, yeah, it's got to be a title, especially one with your own name on it.
Oh, I would love to have one of those, but it is so tacky.
Yeah, you get the world title, and then you get your own name engraved on it. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, I think I would love to get an actual title, like a replica, but not one of the plastic ones. If I could get a real one with, the gold with my name on it, that would be awesome. But I would never wear it in public. I think that's awful. Awful 16-year-old boy. Stop going to the supermarket with your belt. Rory, what's the tackiest piece of merchandise?
I really, really hate Cesaro's King of Swing shirt. I think it looks awful. That and John Cena's little tea towel, flannel that he pulls out. I think they're the worst.
Yeah, the flannel tea towels are fairly bad. I'm gonna argue the King of Swing T-shirt. I kind of like that because it's a throwback to King of the Ring, but it could be seen as tacky because of that. Mike, what's your tacky piece of merchandise?
Any Great Khali merchandise.
Any great? Yeah, do you know what? That's a good answer. Rensis, what do you think is deemed as a tacky piece of merchandise?
I was on mute. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't have good fashion sense, so I'm not great at knowing what's tacky and what's not. So I'll bow out.
You'll bow out. Okay, do you know what? I think my tackiest piece of merchandise, like in the back of my head, I'm gonna say the Bray Wyatt lantern. These were a cool idea to be selling at first, but my God, if you own one of those walking around and you're going, "We're here," no one wants to see you. You are one of those kids that sits in your basement at home, watching it, praying that you were Bray Wyatt. Just my opinion, though. Chris, I know you're fairly pissed about these John Cena towels. So, what is your tackiest piece of merch? Chris,
Oh, sorry, what was that?
what's your tackiest piece of merch?
Anything John Cena sold, because the man sold goddamn everything. If you can think of it, it's probably got John Cena's name and face on it.
Oh, do you know what? I'll give you all one. Lunch boxes, WWE lunch boxes. When I was younger, I had a WWE lunchbox. I took it to school, and I thought I was the coolest kid in the world. Right? I had this blue SmackDown lunchbox. For about 6 months, I thought, yeah, I'm awesome. For 6 months after that, I wanted to hide my lunchbox because I knew how bad it was. Like, I wouldn't ever show up with that. Um, Dylan says the tackiest piece of merch is definitely the John Cena shoes that they put on WWEshop.com. Do you know what? I haven't seen for a thumbnail for that, and we're actually going to put that as the video header for this week.
I have
So
a
if you see us
crappy
walking around
plastic
and you see a
sting
god
mask
awful pair of
around
shoes on
here.
YouTube, you know it's this show. Let's hit back to Raw tonight, because obviously we're all talking about Lesnar. What segment do you see Lesnar showing up in? How far into the show? We'll do it in hours. So do you see it hour 1, hour 2, or hour 3? Paul,
Hour 3.
hour 3. You think they're going to make people stick it out till then?
Yep.
Good shout. I think it's a good way of keeping the fans watching, keeping your ratings up. The only downside, I think, to that is obviously some people don't watch Raw the full way to the end, so maybe that'll affect it. But Skeletor, what do you think? Which hour is he going in?
Hour 2, I think. It'll probably be like something big that happens mid-show that hooks people into the third hour. I've seen them do that before, so I guess that.
Okay. Rory, what do you think?
I think third hour, but we'll get hints of it from Heyman throughout the whole show.
Hints from Heyman. Ooh. I love that you keep playing on this idea of Heyman. It's something I often forget. I know he's the mouthpiece, but I just forget he's there sometimes. It's a damn shame. Mike, what do you think? When are we getting Lesnar?
Second hour.
Second hour, wow. No one's saying first yet. Rensis, which hour do you think we get rocking? Are you there, my friend? Cool. Chris, which hour do you think we get, man?
Who is that supposed to be for?
I didn't say your name.
Oh, I think you cut out in the mic. Fourth hour.
Which hour, sorry?
Fourth.
Oh, the fourth hour, cool.
11 o'clock.
So you... Okay. Chris, when do you think we see Lesnar?
I think we could see him with the Authority opening the show. Because we know that the Authority have this big thing about opening the show and giving their boring talk. We'll either see him then, or we'll see him tease to then, and we'll see him turn up probably in the third hour. It will either be the first segment or the last segment.
You know, Dylan is saying after the main event. I'm gonna say the same as Chris actually, and say he either opens the show, or he shows up right at the beginning of the second hour, because WWE they've got a real fetish for showing rewind segments in a show that's already happened. So if they're going to put Lesnar in the first 15 minutes of the show, they could easily attack someone. Do you know what? Who is showing that replica belt at the minute? I am well impressed. Skeletor, did you just make an appearance on one?
You can see my hand a little bit. I said I never owned one, but I guess I do.
After saying that's the tackiest pizza merch,
Yep, I apparently got one.
You are tacky. Tacky.
I am incredibly tacky.
Do you know, let's talk, what else are we seeing on Raw tonight? I've got to ask a bit about the Rhodes brothers. They seem a bit lost in the mix, so to say. These promos that they're doing backstage are good, but, they're a bit pointless. It's like trying to wear a condom without having a penis. It just doesn't seem right. So, Skeletor, what's your thoughts on the Rhodes brothers? Where are they going?
I'm a big fan of the weird backstage segments using, like, cosmic techno babble speak, because that's the kind of thing I enjoy. But they do need to actually, like, go forward and accomplish something, and I don't know what that is right now. I mean, I guess we might get... I guess my hope is that we get Wyatt's versus Rhodes brothers as like a #1 contendership or something. I just want to see those two weirdos, those two very different kinds of weirdos, face off against each other. Because they had very good matches before, and I feel like they could again. But now that Cody's got a weird gimmick, it could make it even more interesting to watch.
Cool. Good, a good analogy of it. I think there's a good chance that we'll see them go back at it again, especially now that he's got a good gimmick. Paul, where do you see the Rhodes brothers going? Do you think they actually get that heel turn that was teased, or do you think they're going to keep them as a tag team for the time being?
It looks like they're going to keep them as a tag team for the time being. Again, you just keep them around, you let them work with, Ryback, and eventually the Ascension. They're both really good workers who can drag a good match out of pretty much anybody. So they're always going to have a spot.
Okay. Well, on that note, with them always having a spot, what do you see them doing in the further 2 weeks? Because obviously they're a team that are getting good attention. Do you see them on the SummerSlam card, or do you think they're going to be left off it?
Left off it.
Left off it. I think it's a shame because, like you said, they're good workers. It'd be nice to see them on there. Rory, do you think we're going to see Goldust and Stardust on the SummerSlam card, or do you think they're going to be left out with stories yet again?
Unless they make like a triple threat tag team thing or a fatal four-way again, I don't see them being there.
It's a shame, really, because like Paul said, they're great workers, but they're not going anywhere. Mike, where do you see Stardust and Goldust?
Do I see them on the SummerSlam card? I'm gonna have to go with
Nope. No. Do you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, maybe see them in a pre-show. maybe that's where we see the Ascension. We maybe see them debut over the next couple of weeks, but they get their first big pay-per-view match at the SummerSlam pre-show. Who knows? Rensis, what do you think? Where are we seeing them?
We are
Where are
not
we going to see
seeing.
Goldust and Stardust, Rensis?
I don't think we're going to see them at SummerSlam now.
Okay, so where do you see them going creatively? Because obviously these backstage promos will have to stop eventually.
Oh, where are they going with Goldust and Stardust?
Yeah, where do you see it going?
I think they have to at some point feud, don't they? Goldust can't go forever, so I guess you get to a point where Stardust is going to retire Goldust.
Now you see that's a very good point, because as far as I'm aware, Goldust's contract ends in August. So if that's the case, then I don't understand why they haven't set up a feud to have them finish at SummerSlam and just retire Goldust after that. But maybe there's something else in the works. Who knows? Chris, what do you think? Where do we see Stardust and Goldust going?
I'm not sure if I see them at SummerSlam. I see them going towards, they'll definitely be built up. I think we'll start to see the tensions rise at the Royal Rumble, and we'll see them split at the Royal Rumble. You'll have the build up going into Mania. I think I don't think Goldust is necessarily done just because his contract expires. I think he'll happily sign over for the next, until Mania, at least until to put his brother over. I think that's something he'd be willing to do.
Fair enough. I think it's something Goldust would be very happy to do. He sounds like someone that, they went from a point where they said they would never fight. Then he went through a phase saying he wanted to fight, and now they've kind of blown it off again. So I think when it does happen, it's going to be a bigger deal. And obviously Cody has to get the win. So hopefully Goldust is willing to do that and happy to do that. Just another question that we got from Twitter. Your Future Shot says, does Flow Rider suck? However, I'm going to change this question around and say, is it a bad idea for WWE to use celebrities like this on Raw? Because it's something personally I'm against. I think backstage promo segment, that's fine. We can all have a bit of a moan about it. But I think if they're going to take up a full segment on Raw to sing a song, I think it's a bit different. So, Chris, let's start at the top this time. Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea to have performers like this on Raw?
To have performers, it very much depends. I mean, when you have Hugh Jackman come out and either he's on commentary or is at ringside, yep, fair enough, I can completely get behind that. To have a guy like Flow Rider come out and do a song, not a fan of that at all. To me, it's a wrestling show. I'm here to see wrestling, not to see you perform. If you're there, good for you. You don't need to shove it in our face.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me in some ways similar to when they went back in Raw 2004, 2005, when John Cena released his rap album. I say rap loosely. So, maybe it's going to be one of those awful segments where if we have a three-man band or Heath Slater come out and have his moment with yet another pop/rock star. Rensis, what do you think? What's your thoughts on having celebrities like this on Raw?
I'm going to assume that was for me because I couldn't hear my name called, but since no one else is talking, yeah. I assume that it's for me. Celebrities on Raw, I think it's a good thing as long as it's not overdone. I think WWE has made it kind of awkward recently. There's kind of two kinds of celebrities, two classes of celebrities. There's an athlete that can actually do something in ring. If they can't, then they are a pure celebrity. If you can get in the ring, or at least there's a possibility of you getting in the ring, I have no problem with the person appearing in the ring. If you never have any thoughts, I mean, it's not even a possibility, I don't want to see that person in the ring. If you want to do a sideline sort of an interview, have Renee Young go interview the person in the crowd, or you want to make them a special VIP guest backstage and you want to interview them back there, I got no problem with that. But I don't want to see anybody in the ring that can't go. I don't see the point in that.
Yeah, I remember when they used to put guys like Steve-O from Jackass in there, and I just thought it was so obscene to see. Like, it's almost a... But obviously,
Definitely.
it's all about the ratings. But hey,
Yeah, but even then, I think you're killing your ratings if you put people inside the ring that have no chance. The only people that should be in that ring are either people who are wrestlers, have been wrestlers, or an interviewer talking to a wrestler, or maybe a ring announcer. Just to put a celebrity in the ring actually takes away from the product. That we're like was said before, we're tuning in to watch a wrestling show. We're not tuning in to watch a variety show. So no.
yeah, do you know what? I completely agree. I think there's a lot of it that's they're deemed as just celebrities. They're not athletes. A really good point, actually. Not many people have mentioned that on Twitter to me today. Mike, try to keep this as PG as you can, because I know you don't have a lot of love for Flow Rider. But do you think celebrities as a whole, or athletes as a whole, sorry, on Raw is a good idea?
No, I think it's total
Disrespect!
to wrestling if they're gonna bring like celebrities, like not even like even if they just show up like for a little bit. I find that like totally disrespectful to wrestling in general and what WWE stands for. Honestly.
Yeah, do you know what? I think I can agree with that in some ways. I think there's bits of it though. We need to look back at matches like where Mike Tyson's been involved, or even the spot at WrestleMania a few years ago where Mickey Rourke knocked out Chris Jericho. So I mean, there is times where it's interesting, but again, they're athletes, so to say. Mickey Rourke has been there and done that. So, Rory, what's your thoughts? Do you think it's a good idea to have celebrities on Raw?
I think it's pretty pointless, especially going back to what you tweeted earlier. I think it was you, how they pay millions to get celebrities on. Who was it they released that you had in your picture?
Well, apparently they haven't actually released him now. It was rumored, but it was meant to have been Ricky the Steamboat.
But it's just all these budget cuts, and they're willing to shovel their money on something like that that's just irrelevant. I just think it's pointless.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you look at it in a financial sense, it does make a lot less sense to book someone to do that kind of thing. Skeletor, what do you think?
I don't know for sure, but I do seriously doubt that they spent that much money on it. It's just a venue. Like, I feel like people would just leap at the chance to be in front of 5 million people instead of, like 10,000 or whatever the normal stadium is. Yeah, so yeah, I don't think they're gonna be dropping a huge amount of money for this, A, and B, I don't know. They've been doing random celebrity guests since the '80s. It's kind of part of wrestling at this point. Uh, I don't like him. I think his music's garbage. And I didn't like him when he showed up at WrestleMania like 3 years ago and beat up on Heath Slater for no reason. But the only way I'll probably be happy about his segment tonight is if Heath Slater like DDTs him on the stage. But outside of that, it's probably not going to be particularly interesting. But it is a way to bring in like outside viewers to something, so I understand why they do it. Though I never expected Hugh Jackman's segment to be very good, but it was funny. Like his thing where Damien Sandow showed up was when cracked me up. It was dumb, but it cracked me up. So maybe it'll be better than I think.
Yeah, it's kind of those wait and see. Again, Heath Slater doing this makes sense. I think sadly we're probably going to get an Adam Rose segment with him because it's party time all the time. And fuck knows. Sorry, excuse the language. It's one of those moments. Paul, what do you think? Celebrities, good or bad?
Well, the E stands for entertainment, and there's nothing Vince likes more than mainstream acceptance. No matter how uncomfortable it may be sometimes, which it usually is, you get most of these celebrities on there that don't know anything about the product, don't care about the product, and it almost seems like it's demeaning to them. Those are the bad ones. Then on occasions you get, the Mr. T's, the Money Mayweathers, the Lawrence Taylors, athletes that help boost the product, and then it's okay. So it's a case by case basis.
Yeah, the ones that actually do the work that you said. just to clear it up, Dylan has said the Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show feud in 2008 was great. Tyson in '98, professional athlete performer. I can deal with celebrities being on WWE TV, but somebody like Flo Rida, I'm totally against it. For me personally, if Flo Rida was paid to do this, he's an idiot, right? He's let his ego get above himself. I think it was Skeletor that said, you get the chance to do this and perform in front of millions at one time. You do it for free. It's great publicity. The only way that I can see WWE paying him to do this is if he's released a song that's going to be used for SummerSlam, which sounds more than likely, sadly. As a musician myself, though, you jump at that kind of chance. That is good promotion for yourself. Rory said, Aaron Paul did it for the Need for Speed film. He did that completely free off the back of his, on his own. I don't understand why they would need to pay him millions to do this, even if it's not that high a figure, Skeletor, you made a point of saying Heath Slater. I want to talk about this. For those of you who haven't seen Battleground yet, a bit of a spoiler. Heath Slater eliminates Cesaro, right? Cesaro's the guy that won the Andre the Giant over-the-top rope battle royal. Why do we suddenly have Heath Slater eliminating him? Chris, where are they going with this?
I really, really, really hope that they are going somewhere with it. I'm not sure where they're going with it, but I hope it's somewhere. Because, Heath Slater, a lot of people mock him the same way they mocked him. I was going to say, they mock him in the same way they mock Damien Sandow and they say he's got no talent. Heath Slater's a very good seller in the business. I mean, he sells. The clothesline from Hell that he took from JBL in 2012 was a massive one, and it was awesome. I think Heath Slater has more talent than people realise, and I hope that this is going to a mid-card push.
Yeah, I would like to see him get a push from this. It makes sense. However, I can see a lot of people already, if the same thing happens again tonight, complaining that Cesaro's been buried. They will say he's been buried. He's not been buried, he's on TV. But the point is, they probably will have to lower him slightly in order for him to do that.
But they can pull him back up by sticking him with Heyman and Lesnar.
Of course, I completely agree. And that's exactly what I would do with him too. Mike, what did you think to Heath Slater eliminating Cesaro?
Complete bullshit.
Okay, why?
Come on, Cesaro is like Paul Heyman said, my client Cesaro won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial. Yet someone like Heath fucking Slater comes along and just eliminates Cesaro just like that. Look, like, to quote the Hurricane, what's up with that?
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's interesting. I'm really hoping they are going somewhere with this. Paul, what do you think? Where are they going with it?
I can definitely see a small little mini feud out of this, with Heath Slater getting at least one fluke win out of this. Where it goes from there, who knows? But I can definitely see some TV time and a win over Cesaro for Heath Slater.
Yeah, I'm just hoping they're not going to use this as Slater's last chance, so to say. They release the other members of 3MB. Maybe this is his last chance to see if he can draw, and if they don't work, maybe he gets released. I hope it's not the case, but we'll see. Skeletor, what do you think? Where do you see Heath Slater and Cesaro going, if anywhere?
I think there's a very large chance that you guys read too much into it, in that, because the whole point of Battle Royals is it's chaos. Like, the whole point is anybody could win theoretically. It's booked, pre-booked, and not really, but that's kind of the point. So, Damien Sandow eliminated Curtis Axel. There's nothing coming out of that. Despite how weird that was. I just feel like it was just something to show that anybody could win, and it kind of gave this like weird maybe pop to Heath Slater got like a weird like crowd pop for when he eliminated Cesaro because it gave this weird possible chance that Heath Slater would win the IC belt after 4 years of jobbing out to everybody. So like I don't think anything's probably gonna actually come from it. If something does, I'll be happy. I would love to see Cesaro versus Slater, just because I want to see Heath sell the Swiss uppercut like death. But that's about it. I don't think anything's actually going to happen though.
Okay, I give the suggestion here then. Cesaro's a Heyman guy. Lesnar's a Heyman guy. You want to make a point? You interrupt the match. You have them take out Slater, and you have them all stand side by side and make their points. You don't mess with the Heyman guys. It kind of looks silly for Cesaro being thrown out, but at the same time it gave a reason for Cesaro to look even stronger in a way. And we might actually get to see a little bit of a Heyman stable. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and do not count that as a 186% correct prediction, because I'm not predicting it's going to happen. But I would love to see it. I think it would be a really good way of getting Cesaro to be Lesnar's right-hand man. He could be billed as the strong man, but I would love to see a different side to him as well, just to show that he could do it if needed. And Dylan has said, it looks like Heyman is slowly dropping Cesaro. I hope this isn't the case, but if Brock Lesnar comes back and wins the titles, then Heyman's going to need to focus his attention on that. Do you think this is the case, guys? Do you think we're going to see Cesaro and Heyman go opposite ways? Or do you think this is just a temporary setback? Francis, what do you think? Is this a temporary
If they
thing,
do,
or do you think this is them slowly?
if they do that, then it's kind of pointless that they put him with Heyman in the first place. I don't see the point in dropping it this quick. Of course, they dropped Ryback and Curtis Axel, but I think that was just because they could see that it wasn't working. It would be an admission that Cesaro, Heyman, that pairing didn't work. And 3 in a row, now you start asking what's the value of a manager. Especially, I mean, we're talking about Paul Heyman. We're not talking about some run-of-the-mill manager.
Okay, so I ask you then, would you like to see maybe Cesaro and Lesnar working together for a bit? I mean, I posed this question of, Cesaro playing Lesnar's right-hand man, so to say. Like, do you think that could work, or do you think it would be a bit pointless?
I don't think I like that at all. I don't know why they don't treat it sort of like the way they used to treat Heenan. And he can represent multiple people, 4, 5, 6 people on the same card. Maybe not that many. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he can represent multiple people. He can represent multiple people even on the same card. But you don't really overlap them. You let them work independently. I think it's really hurt Cesaro that they keep having Paul Heyman talk about Brock Lesnar. I know that the idea supposedly is to create a fissure between Brock and Cesaro. I just think that feels really artificial. When they did that with Punk and Brock, that worked. I can buy that those two guys could have what did he call it, professional disagreement or something along those lines. I can buy that. Those two guys have known each other. They've crossed paths before. And I could see, because both of them have been extremely successful, that they could have some jealousy and want to see who the better man is. I could buy that. I don't think there's anything between Cesaro and Brock Lesnar. So I just don't understand what he's been doing. I don't understand why WWE's been having him put Brock Lesnar over at the expense of Cesaro all this time. So it's really confusing, and what I've been rambling about is basically saying none of this makes any sense. Having Cesaro and Heyman together and putting Brock constantly in the middle just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, my only thought on it was the idea of maybe I mean, it's a long shot, but if Cesaro was to play Lesnar's right-hand man because of Heyman, like, you know, Heyman's his manager, he can tell him what to do. Obviously, through business propositions, this is an option for him. But if he was to do this, it could lead to a face turn down the line, and obviously, that's the only payoff I can see. But I'm unsure. Skeletor, what do you think? Do we see Cesaro and Lesnar, or do we see Heyman breaking up with Cesaro?
I agree that I'm kind of confused about what's going on because it was very weird that Heyman spent every promo pretty much for a couple months going, you know, Brock Lesnar's the greatest of all time and broke the streak, and then also here's Cesaro over here, and it was very weird, and it didn't seem to help Cesaro any. So I thought they just broke him up unceremoniously already. Like I thought they were already broken up. Like when he just dropped Axel and Ryback, like with no word, it just kind of happened. It was because I don't think Heyman, like, it could be the way they positioned him, or it could just be the fact he's getting older or whatever. But he's not getting people over anymore. And he hasn't in a long time. He hasn't helped. Like the best he's done in the last like pushing 10 years is take a guy who's already super over and give him like an extra 10%. That is about all he's done in like over a decade probably. It's like I just haven't like there was a time period with the Dangerous Alliance where he was getting over like 7 dudes like at the same time by himself, but he's just not doing that anymore. And I'm not entirely sure if it's him or the way he's positioned or whatever, but it's not working. He like hasn't worked for anybody who he wasn't already who wasn't already a huge star. So I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't.
Okay, so I mean, obviously this is something that we're all a bit iffy with, but let's see, Paul, have you got any thoughts on this? Do you see Cesaro and Heyman staying together, or do you think they're slowly going to drift?
It looks like they've drifted apart. Paul Heyman has told him it's not you, it's me, and he's going back to Brock Lesnar for the time being. This is one of the few instances. Well, this is just another instance of Paul Heyman not getting a guy over, and in this case, really hurting Cesaro coming off of Mania. I mean, it felt like he was really poised for this super huge babyface run that. Just nothing happened, and Heyman just undercut him by putting over Lesnar instead of Cesaro. So, and it could still lead to a babyface turn here, which I would really love to see. Cesaro becomes his own man.
Yeah,
says, hey, you never helped me out. It was always all about Lesnar. There you go.
Yeah, I would love to see Cesaro turn face. It makes sense to me. He's over with the crowd. His moveset was over. He could bring back the swing if needs be. Let's just wait and see what happens. Rory, what's your thoughts? Where are we going with this?
I think they're just going to stick together. I don't see them going apart anytime soon. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing.
Okay, so with that in mind then, where do you see Cesaro ending up in the next 3 months? If they're going to stick together?
I can't see anything major for him apart from a mid-card title, really. Maybe US title again. I'm not entirely sure, but it's going to be quite a while until he's in the main event picture, I think.
Fair enough. Mike, what do you think? Just quickly. Cesaro and Heyman staying together or breaking up?
I don't know. It's difficult to call this. I'm going to go with wait and see what happens technique.
Okay, that's cool with me. Chris, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you think we're going to see Cesaro and Heyman break up?
No idea.
Wow. So we are all completely stumped on this. This is a first. I think there's a lot of routes that can go down, but the only one that really makes sense is the babyface turn at some point. It's it's a tight situation. If they admit defeat and they break him up, and Cesaro turns face, Cesaro needs a feud to go into. But my fear is that if Cesaro turns face, Heyman calls out the big dogs and ultimately gets Lesnar involved. So I'm not sure what happens there. I mean, the payoff is difficult. Chris, I know you were... Sorry, what were you saying, Chris?
I was going to say Cena rushes to save it. That was all.
Cena rushes to save him. Yeah, again, it's an option. None of us really know the payoff for this, so I will take any open bets on that at the minute. Chris, I know you were wanting to talk a little bit about Kofi and Jericho, so have you got any questions on them? Or?
Yeah, what did you guys think? I mean, obviously we see Kofi now in every Battle Royal do something crazy. My first question is, do you guys think that we should be sticking... should we have that, or should we only have Kofi do these spots once a year at the Royal Rumble to make him feel special? And my second question is, what did you think of Jericho's match?
Okay, I'll answer first then. Do you know what, Kofi? I think the Royal Rumble spots look great. The one at the Battle Royal last night kind of looked iffy, but I did like the spot with Big E when he was on his shoulders. I thought that was kind of cool. It does bother me, though, that no matter how much he does these spots, he's deemed as a spot monkey. He's not helping himself in this aspect. But I guess if you're going to be good at something, something that looks flashy. Jericho's match? I'll keep it brief. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 at most. It wasn't the best for both guys. They were still feeling each other out, seeing what the next match is going to be like. Mike, what did you think to the whole Kofi spot? Do you think it's a one-off that we should get each year? Or do you want to see more of these spots every time he's in the Battle Royal?
Well, I'm a small if you know me well enough, you'll know full well that I'm a bloody spot mark. So I'm gonna go with give Kofi the spots whenever he gets the chance.
Cool. And what did you think to Jericho's match?
I've seen better.
Sorry, what was that?
I've seen better.
You've seen better. Right, okay, sorry. I just didn't catch the tail end. Rory, what are you thinking to Kofi spots? Do you want to see them more often, or do you want them just once a year at the Royal Rumble?
I'd like it if other people than just him did it, because now it's got to a point where you just know that he's going to be in everyone and he's going to do something. But they're still good to watch. Jericho match, yeah, it was alright, but the other two are probably going to be better. I think there's going to be 2 more between them two, and they'll be a lot better than that one will.
You think we get SummerSlam and Night of Champions?
Yeah. Someone's got to come out with 2 wins, and I think it'll be Wyatt.
Completely agree. I mean, what's the point in Y2J coming back to win a feud? Paul, what do you think of Kofi? Do you think we get spots every Battle Royal, or should it just be the Royal Rumble?
It gives him job security. He knows that as long as he can do these spots, he's got a job at least once a year. That said, there's still life in him. He can still be revived just with a little bit of effort. He can have a character. The Jericho Wyatt match, I thought it was botchy. It had no flow. Those two did not work good together. And for Jericho to go over clean as a sheet, I thought was really odd. I have no problem with him winning, but for him to go over that clean, I thought it was a little weird. But they're losing. They're at the risk of losing Wyatt here as a viable title contender, as someone that's viable in the ring. I mean, they're damn lucky that he's so good at talking, because he's not winning any matches.
Yeah, it's a bit tight at the minute. I will say I love the running crossbody that he does. It always looks brutal. Just because he's such a big guy, it always looks really powerful. Skeletor, what did you think? Do you think we should get these Kofi spots once a year, or are you quite happy for them to happen whenever?
Okay. They're not doing anything with Heath Slater. He lost to Adam Rose on Superstars tonight.
Wow.
So, not happening, like I said.
Fantastic.
Was never going to happen, like I said. 186% correct 100% of the time. Now, the Kofi spots, I'm cool with them. Just do them whenever, because he saves the big, impressive ones for the Royal Rumble. because the ones he does on the regular Battle Royals are usually just kind of okay. Like, they're usually just something that's kind of weird. But he saves the really insane ones for the Royal Rumble and the Battle, I guess, the Honor of the Giant Battle Royal now. So I'm cool with them just doing small ones whenever. What was the second part of that question?
What did you think to Jericho's match at Battleground with Bray Wyatt?
I was disappointed by it. I would have been the most disappointing match of the night if I wasn't so disappointed by Paige AJ. It was okay, I guess. Like, they didn't flow well, and my biggest problem with Wyatt's in-ring work is every singles match I've ever Brian, when Brian could pull a great match out of anybody, Bray doesn't go into a third gear. Like, he has his startup, and then he starts hitting big middle match power moves, and he never has that big flurry, that like super exciting flurry at the end. His matches always feel like they're in step 2 of 3, and they always end. So the endings always just feel like, oh, okay. Like, the only time I've ever not been disappointed by the ending of a Wyatt match was the Daniel Bryan match.
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I will say I thought the ending to last night's match was fairly bad. Rancis, I know you're a Bray guy, so what did you think of the Bray Jericho match?
Yeah, that wasn't the best for him. The flurry at the end thing, I think, is available. He showed that. I want to say it was against Rey Mysterio. He did the sort of snap. Sister Abigail, I think there is an explosive version of that. But his match with Jericho, we talked about this. I didn't see how you could come out of a Jericho win situation with either guy looking particularly good, and I think it's exactly what you saw. I think pretty much everybody's looking around like, did I just see that? That's it? The match is over? He beat Bray Wyatt with a code breaker? That's it? So I don't know. I know exactly why they did it. I get that. They want to continue this feud. What I don't get is why. Okay? If you're trying to give Bray something to do and have him work with an old pro that can really show him a little bit more of the quote-unquote ropes and work some of the green off, that's fine. But you can't have Chris Jericho at his age and who hasn't been doing anything for months come in and beat him like a jobber. You know what I'm saying? That was really, I don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, I've been saying the last couple of weeks when they've been building this feud, I'm not entirely sure I can find a reason as to why they've done this feud. There doesn't seem to be enough body behind the argument to say, I don't like you, we're fighting. Like, it's all great saying, where were you to save us, Jericho? I mean, I'm a Bray Mark. Scratching at the bottom of the barrel, hoping to find something.
Yeah, I don't see how it helps Jericho either.
Yeah, that's just it. He came back, and all of a sudden he's in this feud. It makes more of a reason for Jericho to fight because he was attacked unprovoked. But other than that, we don't know why Bray provoked Jericho in the first place.
I mean, does anybody believe that this is building something for Jericho? Like, he's gonna go on to become the #1 contender and become a WWE World Heavyweight? I don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing. This does nothing for either guy.
Yeah, the only way I can see them going around this is by saying, something along the lines that Jericho became fake because of the whole Rockstar persona. I mean, that's all I can see them getting for Bray, which I think is really sad. He could be working with some other people, but it's a bad place for them to be for both guys, really, in my opinion. Rory, what did you think of the Jericho match last night?
It was alright. That's all I've really got to say about it.
you feel at any point last night, Rory, that the card was anything other than all right?
I thought the tag match was great. I thought the main event was really good.
But everything
Even the
else was
Divas
all right.
match wasn't that bad, but it was. I thought the whole pay-per-view was good. It wasn't great, but it was good.
Okay, right. As we do every single week before we finish the show, I want to ask you guys: do you think do we see Damien Sandow dress up, and two, who's it going to be at this week? Chris, who are we going with?
Flow Rider or The Rock?
Flow Rider or The Rock? Okay. So we get either Rock down or Flow down.
Yep.
Mike, who are we going with? Do you see Sandow dressing up this week, and if who? Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Think. Sorry, I've got no answer.
No problem at all, man. Paul, who do you think we get Sandow dressing up as this week?
We get Vanilla Ice Sandow, just to have a comedy segment there with Flo Rida.
Good shout. Actually, I hadn't even considered just a segment. I thought you'd probably get a cheap match. Skeletor, what about you? Where are we going with it?
I like the Vanilla Ice thing. However, I think that he should I think he should dress as a Samoan and then challenge Roman Reigns and then pin him clean in 45 seconds. Actually, I guarantee that'll happen.
I was going to say, is that a Skeletor spoiler?
Yep, 186% chance.
You heard it here first, people. Rensis, who have you got? What?
Cut his mic off.
I've cut him, don't worry. Who do you see Sandow as then?
Why not just do what he did last night? Just make him a pensioner again.
Yeah, I was thinking pensioner. Not many people saw it because he didn't get an entrance, so maybe we see that. Rory, have you got anything?
Where is Raw tonight?
What do we see Sandow as?
It depends where he is. Where is it tonight? Show.
Miami.
Oh,
Miami.
probably what Chris said then. The Rock, or maybe an Atlanta Falcons player because they're like big rivals of all the Florida clubs and stuff. I don't know. No idea.
No, good shouts. Okay, we'll go back to Mike because we didn't get his idea on it. Just very quickly, what do you think it is, Mike?
What was that?
Say that again, sorry?
What's that? Is that what do I
you
think?
say Sandow would be?
LeBron James.
Yeah, what do you think?
What do I think?
LeBron James. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting kind of mixed up because I think missed timing's probably.
Okay, I'm asking who you think Damien Sandow will be dressed as.
I said LeBron James from Miami Heat.
LeBron James, Miami Heat. That's actually quite a reasonable show. I didn't think we'd go there. Dylan, let's try one last time. Can we hear you yet? This will be a big kick in the balls if we can hear you. Who do you think Sandow is dressing as? Nah, I still can't hear you, man.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, do you know what? I'm gonna go with The Rock or LeBron James. I think these are two options. I think LeBron James could be a clever one, but we've already seen him do the basketball stint.
The Rock as Hercules.
The Rock as Hercules would be good, but it's going to promote a WWE movie. Right, we'll tell you what then, guys. We'll leave it there because obviously we're cutting it really close to Raw. A big thank you to everyone who's joined in. Dylan, hopefully we can get you back to the working microphone. So good luck. Yes, because he's doing the promos and things.
We should get Fuji Vice, but Sandow Vice.
Wow,
that'd be the greatest.
A rough shout. So anyway,
cut his mic.
Everyone who joined in tonight.
That was a great idea, Skeletor.
We'll,
yeah. It's such a relevant reference.
Dear God, I'm cutting everyone. This is awful. One at a time, people. Basically, what I'm saying is, hopefully, we can see you all back for Lowdown tomorrow. We'll discuss Raw. It'll be the usual panel tomorrow night, so we're just going to have Rancis, Paul, Skeletor, Chris, myself, Rory. If you show up, you show up. We'll expect the ghost in the background. Guys, if you've been listening on Twitter, please go follow us all. I'm going to give everyone a shout out in a minute. And hopefully we'll see you all back tomorrow. So please enjoy Raw, and we'll speak to you all soon.